Fleetwood Mac were one of the first bands to earn the title supergroup, with their blend of rock melodies and vocal harmonies dominating the charts and our living rooms throughout the 70s. Until Michael Jackson came along, Rumours was the biggest selling album of all time, and even though some of the faces have changed, the band still holds its place as one of the world's premier music acts.
I think there's a certain magic, if you will, that seems to attach itself to this particular bunch of people. And it's something that's not clearly definable all the time. I know that Mick also has had a very keen sense of finding people, the right people, and putting those people together. And he has a relentless sort of energy that he always puts into this band, and I think as long as he's around, that this band will be going full force.
Very bad business manager who will again remain nameless, but in retrospect, the grand foray of foolishness, which sometimes has got read into me as a person, was not part of it. The drug binges and everything else were not part of it.
Singer Stevie Nicks has paid a different price for stardom.
I call myself the juggling queen. Yeah, you know, it's difficult because when Fleetwood is recording, then when they're done and they do their tour, then they take like a rest. They go to Australia, they go to Hawaii, John sails across to Tahiti, and I go instantly into writing and putting together an album and into the studio. So I don't ever get that break that they get, which is, you know, something that is important and that I actually need. But it's my choice to give up having any kind of a social life or having time to party or having time to, you know, to just have a regular, normal life when I'm off.
After celebrating 21 years of survival recently, there's no suggestion that this tour might be the...
But I'm going to give...
Well, the tour got off to a pretty rocky start. After recording an album and rehearsing in the States, then finally getting the show on the road.
Here's some vision from last night.
Yeah, they did have a few teething problems at the start of the tour, and they
ironed them out now?
Yeah, they admit that themselves, but they pretty much got it together. It's a great show. If you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, you'll love it. They play all the hits. In fact, the only new song they play is Save Me from the new album.
And do they get on stage the sound that they've got on their records, their CDs?
Yeah, Christine McVie's the star. Fleetwood Mac in concert and The Chain. Well, it's been over 10 years since Fleetwood Mac last toured Australia, and it was a big thrill earlier this week to catch up with the Sensational Six to talk about the past, the present, and the future of Fleetwood Mac. There's probably no other rock band in the world that survived so many transitions and yet stayed true to itself and its fans. Fleetwood Mac is one of music's most enduring groups. As they've evolved, they've continued to enjoy the critical and commercial success that's resulted in the sale of more than 40 million records worldwide.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Their latest album, Behind the Mask, is their first as a six-piece since the early days and forges yet another new direction for the Mac, bolstered this time by the talents of its newest members, Billy Burnett and Rick Vito. However, that familiar and distinctive sound of Fleetwood Mac is not lost.
once you hear it, you know it's Fleetwood Mac. I mean,
Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks were asked to join in '75, launching an era in the band's history which lasted for more than a decade. Their self-titled album was recorded a few weeks later and went on to become their first US #1. It was with the release of Rumours 2 years later that Fleetwood Mac achieved the level of success that equals superstardom. Rumours sold nearly 20 million copies and remained at #1 for 31 weeks, with all 4 singles released, making the top 10.
You can go your own way. Go your own way. You can call it number bed.
Albums such as Tusk, Mirage and Tango in the Night further consolidated the Mac's position as one of the least predictable and most creative bands in rock and roll. Individual members have also enjoyed success with their respective solo endeavours. Stevie Nicks in particular has paralleled a hugely successful solo career alongside her work with Fleetwood Mac. So how do they avoid the conflict of interest?
If you present a song to Fleetwood Mac and they don't like it, you don't want them to do it. So you just quietly walk out of the room and bang your head against the wall and walk back into the room and smile, because it's really better to do the songs that people like than to force something on somebody.
Is there a sort of a lobbying process, record royalties being what they are, but you know, you really kind of push to have your stuff on the album?
no, I think we have to be fairly sort of fair about it. I think we know there are 4 writers and, you know, everyone gets a kind of a roughly fair percentage of you know, airtime or vinyl time, whatever you call it.
And it all gonna stand to you. Well, you know that it does when lightning strikes. Maybe once, maybe twice.
If not for the friendship between the group, it's the element of variety that's kept the band so vibrant. Even the departure of Lindsey Buckingham 3 years ago hasn't affected their success or popularity. In fact, new members Billy Burnett and Rick Vito have provided another fresh air of change and a new level of creativity.
This album was a lot more fun.
Much
It was
more.
good to get back.
Just a professional relationship these days.
We do see a lot of each other anyway. We have done since Billy and Rick joined the band. We've seen each other practically every day. Anyway,
And even
just in the work mode.
Even if you don't see each other after 15 years, it's kind of like your family that you don't call that you should.
Fleetwood Mac's not only a band with a legendary past, but a tight, exciting band of the present and undoubtedly the future. A band that's always thrived on change and yet remained a constant creative force.
We are a traditional rock and roll band, and I don't think that we've ever given that up.
Come on, baby, and save me. Running for cover, save me. One or the other, save me. I just cry for somebody else.
And of course, Fleetwood Mac playing live around the country. You can see them at these places. They're in Melbourne next week, playing at the Tennis Centre, then moving on to Adelaide, and then playing Perth and